respiration in organisms.
Hello children. So after our autumn holidays, I welcome all of you to our biology online class. I hope all of you have enjoyed the holidays. Have you? Okay. So after the autumn holidays, we will start a new chapter. That is respiration in organisms. Before going to respiration in organisms, last week when we finished the second chapter, nutrition animals, I had given you a few questions to write. Have you all completed all the answers? I am sure that all of you have completed. So please take that notebook and keep it ready. At the end of this session, I will be giving you the answers for all those questions. You may please check it, and if it is right, put a tick mark. If you have written it wrong, no problem. You just strike it and rewrite that answer once again. Because I had already asked you to write it at the back of the notebook. That work was given for you to read the textbook. Only when questions are given, you will get into a habit of reading the textbook and you can find out the answer and write on your own. Okay, so we will discuss those answers at the last. So keep the notebook ready with you. Now, we will go to the new chapter, that is respiration in organisms. Have you heard the word respiration? Yes, you would have heard it because last year you have learned about respiration. Respiration is the process of releasing energy. Then what is breathing? Is respiration and breathing the same? You would have experienced the breathing rate increasing when you do some work, when you walk fast, when you run, etc. Have you ever thought, why is this breathing rate increasing when you do some work? Is there any connection between breathing and respiration? Okay, today we are going to find the answer for all these questions what I asked you now. It's a very interesting topic. So when I explain, please concentrate, understand, read the textbook and understand it properly. If you have any doubt related to this, you may ask me. Okay? So respiration, there are two types of respiration. One is aerobic respiration, other one is anaerobic respiration. Next we will be learning about what is aerobic respiration. We human beings, do we respire aerobically or anaerobically? All that details we will be discussing now. So before going to the main content, just recall the things that you learned about respiration. I already told you respiration and breathing are not same. Breathing. What is breathing? In taking in air and giving out air. Inhaling, exhaling. That is breathing. What is respiration? It is the process of releasing energy. So just ask to yourself, without breathing can we respire? Definitely no. Only if we take in air, we can use that oxygen present in the air for releasing energy. Isn't it? So first, oxygen should enter into our body. Then it should be transported to different parts of the body, that is to the cells. And in the cells, the food that we have already eaten and digested will be broken down and energy is released. You would have heard your parents telling, eat nicely, eat good food. Only then you will get energy to do work. The main function of the food is to provide energy and also to help in growth and development. So only if you eat, you will get energy. When you are sick, you may not be having an appetite, you may not eat properly, and you may be very weak, you may not be able to do any work. What may be the reason? Yes, because you don't have enough energy. Only when you eat, The food will reach the cell. The digested simpler components. Last lesson we have learned. Carbohydrate and fat. These are the two nutrients which help in releasing energy. The nutrients which releases energy. So these nutrients are digested and converted to their simplest form. What is the simplest form of carbohydrate? Yes, sugar. What is the simplest form of fat? Quick, recall. Yes, fatty acids and glycerol. So this glucose is broken down or undergoes chemical reactions through which energy is released. So where in our body is energy released? Can you say the answer? Yes, in the cells. You know, cells are the basic structural and functional unit of all living organisms. All living organisms are made up of cells. Our body has millions and trillions of cells. So each cell can respire, can do all the necessary functions. It will excrete, will transport materials inside the cell. There are organelles. You will be learning in higher class. A single cell does all the function that an organism does. Clear? So here in our body, energy is released inside the cell. How is the energy released? By breaking down the food. That is simplest form of carbohydrate. Glucose is the nutrient. Simplest form of carbohydrate which releases energy. Hope you understood what I told you till now. Once again I repeat the main essence of what I said till now. Respiration is a process of releasing energy. Energy cannot be released unless we breathe. So breathing is the first step in respiration. What is breathing? Taking in air and giving out air is breathing. This is a physical process. When we breathe, we take in air. Oxygen in the air is absorbed by hemoglobin and is transported to different parts of the body, that is to the cells. In the cells, food is broken down and energy is released. This process is called respiration. Is it clear now? Okay. Respiration is of two types. What are they? Have you heard? No, you would not have heard. You have not learned about this in the previous class. In some organisms, energy is released in the absence of oxygen. Such respiration is called as anaerobic respiration. In most of the living organisms, including human beings, energy is released in the presence of oxygen. If energy is released in the presence of oxygen, we call it as aerobic respiration. Understood? So two types of respiration are aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. Next we will be learning the system involved with the system which help in taking in air and giving out air. We are complex organism. We have a separate system for respiring, for taking in air. And that is the respiratory system. So all this, what is aerobic respiration? I just told you what is aerobic and anaerobic. Remaining details of those two respiration. Do we human beings respire anaerobically? Do we? No, we will see. Next, what is the mechanism of breathing? All this we will be learning next. So by the end of this session, you will be thorough with what is respiration, what are the two types of respiration, what is the system involved in respiring, do we human beings respire anaerobically? What is the mechanism of breathing? Now shall we learn that? Okay. So now let us see what is aerobic and anaerobic respiration. I already told you aerobic respiration takes place in the presence of oxygen, whereas anaerobic respiration takes place in the absence of oxygen. Now let us learn a little more about it. During aerobic respiration, I told you respiration is the process of releasing energy. Where is the energy released? In the cells. So it is also called as cellular respiration. From where is energy released? It is released from the food that we eat. You know, the nutrients present in the food will be converted into their simpler form during digestive process or during digestion. Carbohydrate and fats are the nutrients which help in releasing energy. So in the cells, if energy is released in the presence of oxygen, we call it as aerobic respiration. So during aerobic respiration, what is the simplest form of carbohydrate? Yes, glucose. Last lesson you have learned. That is why does glucose provide, how does glucose provide instant energy? How is the glucose able to provide instant energy? Because glucose is the simplest form of carbohydrate. So glucose in the presence of oxygen, carbon dioxide plus water plus energy is released. So if glucose is broken down in the presence of oxygen, what are the products? Carbon dioxide will be there. We breathe out carbon dioxide after respiring. Carbon dioxide is produced, water vapor will be there, and also energy. Energy is the main product of respiration. Understood? If certain organisms can release energy in the absence of oxygen, for example, yeast. Have you heard yeast? Y-E-A-S-T, yeast. When you make appam, you would have seen your mother adding some white color small grain like things into the flour, body mix. That is yeast. Yeast is a unicellular organism which is made up of one cell. This organism releases energy in the absence of oxygen. So when glucose is broken down in the absence of oxygen, alcohol plus carbon dioxide plus energy is released. So during anaerobic respiration, apart from carbon dioxide and energy, carbon dioxide is also here, energy is also here. So in the difference between aerobic and anaerobic respiration is that apart from carbon dioxide and energy, alcohol, a new product, alcohol is also produced. So in anaerobic respiration, that is in the absence of oxygen, if energy is released, along with the carbon dioxide and energy, alcohol or acid is produced. Lactic acid, acetic acid, all these are the products of anaerobic respiration. Clear? So this is called fermentation. So here by using this anaerobic respiration, products like vinegar, wine, beer, etc. is produced through anaerobic respiration. Once again I repeat, respiration is the process of releasing energy. If energy is released in the presence of oxygen, it is called aerobic respiration. During aerobic respiration, carbon dioxide, water vapor and energy is produced. During anaerobic respiration, energy is released in the absence of oxygen. So glucose is broken down in the absence of oxygen. During anaerobic respiration, apart from carbon dioxide and energy, alcohol or acid is also produced. This is called as fermentation process. Okay. With this, in anaerobic respiration, the products, some of the products produced are vinegar, wine, beer, etc. Okay. Hope this topic is clear. We human beings respire aerobically. That is, when we breathe, oxygen enters into our body. From lungs, we'll be learning next, respiratory system. Then oxygen is taken to the cells through blood. In the cells, already after digestion, glucose would have reached. This glucose will be broken down in the presence of oxygen, and energy, carbon dioxide and water vapor will be released. So it is called as aerobic respiration. But in our muscles, in our muscle cells, when we do heavy work or when we do heavy exercise, we need lot of energy. In order to release energy, we need lot of oxygen. We have to breathe faster to take in more oxygen. That is the reason why a person breathes faster when he runs fast, when he walks fast, when he do work, heavy work, etc. Now did you get the answer? In the beginning I asked you a question. Have you ever thought why we breathe fast when we do some work, we run fast, we walk fast, etc.? The reason is that in order to release, we need more energy for doing work. In order to release more energy, more oxygen should be taken in. So, for want of more energy, we have to take in more oxygen, and that is why we breathe faster. Hope you have understood that part. So, in order to take oxygen, we breathe. So, here, even when we breathe, if oxygen supply is not enough for releasing energy, for a short period of time, our muscle cells can respire anaerobically. Will respire anaerobically. Once again I repeat, when we do heavy exercise, if oxygen supply is not there, proper oxygen supply is not there, for a short period of time, our muscle cells will respire anaerobically. Muscle cells will respire anaerobically. That is, in the absence of oxygen, short form is O2. In the absence of oxygen, muscle cells will respire. Absence means it is anaerobically. Glucose will be broken down and lactic acid is produced. Lactic acid and energy. Lactic acid and energy is produced. So our muscle cells can also respire anaerobically. But it will not respire anaerobically for a long time. Only when we do heavy exercise or when proper oxygen supply is not there to the muscle cells, our muscle cells will respire anaerobically, and only partial breakdown of glucose will take place. That means only half breakdown of glucose will take place. And during that time, what is formed? Lactic acid. I already told you, during anaerobic respiration, lactic acid or alcohol is formed. A new product is also formed apart from energy and carbon dioxide. In our muscle cells, what is formed? Lactic acid is formed. And energy is produced. The amount of energy produced during anaerobic respiration is comparatively less when we compare to aerobic respiration. During aerobic respiration, more energy is produced. But anaerobic respiration, comparatively they release less amount of energy. Have you understood now? So in our muscle cells, what is formed during anaerobic respiration? Lactic acid is formed. Accumulation of lactic acid in the muscle cells will lead to cramps. Cramps means tadipu. So when our muscle cells are respiring anaerobically, lactic acid is formed. Accumulation of lactic acid will lead to cramps. If we have to overcome cramps, we have to massage that area properly so that blood circulation become proper, oxygen supply will reach there and they will start respiring aerobically. That is what we do. When people grow old, if grandparents are there at home, you would have seen them telling, oh, my hand is having numbness. can't feel anything, or there is cramps here and there in the body. So usually they have oil massage and have hot water bath. So massaging and having hot water bath will help to overcome cramps. How is it able to overcome cramps? Because when we massage, the blood circulation will become smooth. When blood circulation becomes smooth, when the flow is even, oxygen supply will also reach the cells. Understood? So respiration, you have understood what is aerobic respiration, what is anaerobic respiration, what is formed during anaerobic respiration, you understood? And do our muscle cells breathe respire anaerobically? Yes. And during anaerobic respiration, what is formed in the muscle cells? Lactic acid is formed. What leads to cramps? Accumulation of lactic acid will lead to cramps. How can you overcome cramps? By having hot water bath or having a good massage. Next, I said if we have to respire, the first step is breathing. The first step in respiration is breathing. We have to breathe. Breathing involves two steps, two things. One is inhalation. Another one is exhalation. Inhalation and exhalation, or inhaling, exhaling. Inhaling, taking in air. Exhaling, giving out air. Clear? So breathing involves inhalation and exhalation. What is breathing rate? What is breathing rate? The number of times a person breathes in a minute. Not when after running or when you are very sick. In the normal condition, how many times we breathe in a minute is called as breathing rate. Number of times a person breathes in a minute. How many times do you breathe in a minute? Yes, 17 to 18 times. Clear? So we breathe almost 15 to 18 times or 17 to 18 times per minute. So that is called as breathing rate. Understood? Next. Which system in our body helps in this process? Yes, respiratory system. We shall now learn the structure of the respiratory system and the function with the help of a video. So after watching the video, the mechanism of breathing and respiring, everything will be very clear to you. And after that, I will give you few questions for homework. Okay? Before giving the worksheet, I will also discuss the answers which I gave you in the last class. Please read the textbook and answer on your own. You don't get the help of anyone. You have to read, understand the lesson and answer to the questions what I am asking. So that you will be thorough with the chapter. Even if the answers are wrong, no problem. When I tell you the answers, you may correct your answers. If you have gone wrong, no problem, you can rewrite it. Hope you will do so. So shall we go to the video? Okay. Respiratory system. Respiratory system in humans involves different organs. So before we go to respiration, let us understand the process of breathing. As I told you, breathing is the first step in respiration. The respiratory system is placed within the rib cage, in the thoracic cavity, there is a chest cavity inside the rib cage. And this rib cage protects our important organs like lungs, heart, etc. There is a diaphragm also at the base of the rib cage which helps in breathing. Our lungs, there is right lungs, it is a pair of lungs. right lungs is bigger than the left lungs. Right lungs has 3 lobes, whereas left lungs has 2 lobes. So comparatively, left lung is smaller than the right lungs. Outside, these two lungs are joined by the bronchus or bronchi, which leads with joints to form the trachea or the windpipe. Trachea is protected or surrounded by the cartilage, rings of cartilage, which prevents the trachea from collapsing when air is not there. Then it leads to the pharynx and to the nasal cavity, nostrils. So the air enters through the nostrils, passes through the trachea or the windpipe, through the bronchus, it enters into the bronchioles. Bronchus is the main pipe. The branching of the bronchus is called as the bronchioles. The finer pipes inside the lungs is called as the bronchioles. Bronchioles opens into balloon-like structures or sac-like structures, which is called as alveoli. So alveoli is surrounded by blood capillaries. So inside the alveolar chamber, you can see lot of gaps are there. So through these gaps, the oxygen will diffuse into the blood. You can see here the blood is moving and the hemoglobin, that is red blood cells, when they are not having oxygen, it is blue in color. So from the alveolar chamber, oxygen diffuses into the red blood cells and it becomes red in color. It becomes oxyhemoglobin. Hemoglobin carries oxygen to different parts of the body. So initially they are blue in color. When they absorb oxygen, they become red in color. And through this hemoglobin, the hemoglobin pigment is a carrier of oxygen. It passes through the bronchioles, that is a fine tube like structures. Bronchioles will join to form bronchus and bronchus will join to form the trachea or the windpipe, and it passes through the pharynx and through the nostrils it comes out. Breathing involves 2 steps. What are they? Inhalation and exhalation. When the air enters the nostrils and reaches the lungs, lungs will expand. So this is aided by the movement of the diaphragm downwards. So diaphragm will move downwards, ribs will move upwards and outwards. So a larger space is created inside and as a result the lungs will expand. When we exhale, ribs will move downwards and inwards and diaphragm will come back to its original form, that is dome shaped. As a result, lungs will contract and the air is pushed out. So the 2 steps in respiration or breathing are inhalation and exhalation. Inhalation, ribs move upwards and outwards and diaphragm will move down. During exhalation, ribs move downwards and inwards and diaphragm will come back to the original state, that is dome shaped, and lungs will contract and pushes the air out. Hope it is clear to you. We often sneeze when we breathe in any dust laden air. Some dust particles, if it enters into our nose also, we sneeze. Why do we sneeze? What is the importance of sneezing there? The air around us has various types of unwanted particles such as smoke, dust, pollens, etc. When we inhale, these dust particles get trapped in the hair present in our nasal cavity. However, sometimes these particles may get past the hair in the nasal cavity. This may irritate the lining of the cavity. As a result, what do? We sneeze. So when we sneeze, it expels these foreign particles or the dust particles which has entered into a nasal cavity, and we will be relieved from this dust. So it will stop these dust particles from entering into a respiratory system, that is into the lungs. So sneezing helps to get rid of the dust particles that has entered into the nasal cavity. Okay, as you would have seen some people putting the thread inside the nose or a small cloth piece, they will just twist the cloth piece and just put inside the nose and irritate the nostrils so that you sneeze. So if at all any dust particles is there inside the nostrils, we can get rid of that. Now we shall
see a small model which represents the mechanism of breathing. Here in this picture, you can see a small bottle and something tied inside. We shall see what is done there. Okay, this model represents our respiratory system. The model showing mechanism of breathing. For doing this model, we need a plastic bottle. If it is transparent, it will be good. We need a white tube and 3 balloons. One big balloon and 2 small balloons. Now how to do? Procedure. How to do this model? First, you take the plastic bottle, cut the bottom of the bottle. If it is a long bottle, you can make it half. Cut and remove the bottom part of the bottle. After that, you have to cut the big balloon which you have bought so that we get a sheet. By using this balloon, you have to wrap or cover the cut part of the bottle. We have cut the bottle, the bottom part of the bottle. So this open end you have to cover by using this balloon, the big balloon which you have cut. Then take the white tube. Before covering the bottom part, you have to take the white tube. As shown in the figure, the 2 smaller balloons should be tied to the mouth of the white tube. Then from the bottom you insert the tube into the bottle and the other end of the tube should be brought out through the lid. So to bring it out through the lid, before doing this, you have to take the lid and make a small hole in the lid. Hope you understood now. So before covering the bottom end, cut end of the bottle, you have to take the white tube through the cut end, otherwise you will not be able to put inside the bottle, and take the single end of the white tube through the lid in which hole is made. After that, you have to cover the cut end by using the sheet which you have got by cutting the balloon. Now in this model, the balloon which you have covered, which you have used to cover the cut end of the bottle, acts as the diaphragm. Okay, it is compared to the diaphragm. The bottle is compared to the rib cage. The 2 small balloons tied to the mouth of the white tube is compared to the lungs. And the tube which is brought out through the lid of the bottle is compared to the trachea. Is it clear? Okay. Now next thing, now our model is ready. Now how can we understand the mechanism of breathing? Already we have learned that there are 2 steps in breathing, that is inhalation and exhalation. So when we inhale, to understand what happens to the lungs, we have to pull the diaphragm down. We have already learned during inhalation, diaphragm moves downwards and ribs move upwards and outwards. Now since it is a plastic bottle, the plastic bottle will not be able to move up and outwards. But when we pull the diaphragm down, we can observe that the lungs is expanding. Okay, expands. And when we leave the rubber, that is the balloon, or the diaphragm, when it moves to the original position, we can see that the lungs will contract. So from this, we can clearly understand the mechanism of breathing. Now I explained to you. Now each one of you, since you are sitting at home, there is a lot of time. You can take an old bottle, used bottle, you can reuse it. Okay, so you can make this model, and if we get a chance to come back to school, when you come back to school, bring this model to the class. Hope all of you are interested in doing all these things. So each one of you try and make this model. If you are not able to get a white tube, you can take a straw which you use for drinking juice. Cut a small piece of the straw, cut 2 small pieces from the single straw and fit it to the long piece of straw by making a small hole in the straw. It can be kept in 2 positions. Okay, try it and do it. Hope all of you will do it. The percentage of oxygen and carbon dioxide in the inhaled and exhaled air is different. In the inhaled air, there is almost 21% of oxygen and 0.04% of carbon dioxide. In the exhaled air, there is almost 16.4% oxygen and 4.4% carbon dioxide. This is approximate amount of carbon dioxide and oxygen in the inhaled and exhaled air. So here are a few questions which to write in the notebook. Since it is a new chapter, you have to leave one page, that is 2 sides after the second chapter, Nutrition Animals. After that, draw a double line, write the name of the chapter, Respiration in Organisms, write the date in the margin, and then start writing the question answers. Notebook should be neat and tidy. Use a scale to draw the line. I should not see any notebook written or drawn line with freehand. If I see any notebook, you will have to rewrite the whole notes. Okay? So start the lesson neatly. So the first question is define. Under define, first one, cellular respiration. Answer is given is on page 108. I expect every one of you to read the textbook, find out the answer and write. Okay, if you have any doubt, there won't be any doubt because I'll be telling the answers where it is coming. So this first answer, cellular respiration, is on page 108, first paragraph. The process of breakdown of food in the cell with the release of energy is called cellular respiration. Till there you have to write. Next definition, aerobic respiration. After the first definition, leave a line. In the next line, you write aerobic respiration, underline it. Underline all the headings. Aerobic respiration definition is given in the next paragraph. When breakdown of glucose occurs with the use of oxygen, it is called aerobic respiration. After that, you have to write the equation which is given below. That is glucose. Above the arrow mark, you will write in the presence of oxygen. And after the arrow mark, you will write carbon dioxide plus water plus energy. That is the equation. So along with the definition, you have to write this equation also. Third definition is anaerobic respiration. Anaerobic respiration is next sentence after aerobic respiration. Food can also be broken down without using oxygen. This is called as anaerobic respiration. Or you can write in your own words, if the breakdown of food takes place in the absence of oxygen, it is called anaerobic respiration. After that, you have to write the equation which is given in the end of that paragraph. Glucose in the absence of oxygen gives alcohol plus carbon dioxide plus energy. So after the definition, you have to write the equation for both. Question number 2. When do our muscle cells respire anaerobically? What is formed during this respiration? When do we respire? Answer is given on page 108, first paragraph, fourth line. During heavy exercise, fast running, cycling, walking for many hours or heavy weight lifting, etc., the demand for energy is high, but the supply of oxygen to produce the energy is limited. Then anaerobic respiration takes place in the muscle cells to fulfill the demand of energy. After that, you have to write the equation given below. Glucose in the absence of oxygen gives lactic acid plus energy. So till there you have to write for this question. Next question. Why do we get muscle cramps? What after heavy exercise? How will you get relief from it? This answer is also given on page 109, right half, first paragraph. The cramps occurs when muscle cells respire anaerobically. From there till last, end of the paragraph. There is hot water bath or massage improves circulation of blood. Questions only you need not write. Okay, can you guess why it is so? Such questions you need not write. All the others you have to write. The increase in the supply of oxygen results in the complete breakdown of lactic acid into carbon dioxide and water. Till there, the whole paragraph you have to write except the question. Next question, what is breathing rate? Answer is there on page 110. Next question, with the help of a neat label diagram, explain human respiratory system and the mechanism of breathing. For this, according to your convenience, if you have enough space to draw the diagram, you can draw the diagram first and then explain. If there is only little space left, then you can start writing the answer and when you take a fresh page, draw the diagram and then continue the answer. Hope you have understood what I said. While drawing the diagram, I want every one of you to use only pencil. Draw the diagram with pencil and label the diagram using pencil. No one is allowed to use pen for drawing or labeling. You need not use sketch pens also. You need to use only pencil for drawing and labeling. Next, if you cannot draw the outline of the human structure, you need to draw only the system showing nasal passage or oral cavity, then the lungs, diaphragm, all that. Okay, draw in a simple way, draw lightly, don't press and draw. Notebook should be neat and tidy. Answer, explanation part, you have to write in paragraph. Answer is given on page 111. First paragraph you will write from second line. How do we breathe? Under that second line. We take in air through our nostrils. From there you will start till the end of that paragraph. That is first paragraph. Next paragraph you will write about inhalation. That is, during inhalation ribs move up and outwards and diaphragm moves down. This movement increases space in our chest cavity and air rushes into the lungs. The lungs get filled with air. Till there you have to write a second paragraph. Then third paragraph you will write from next sentence. During exhalation, ribs move down and inwards while diaphragm moves up to its former position. This reduces the size of the chest cavity and air is pushed out of the lungs. Till there you have to write as the next paragraph. Last question. Why do we sneeze when we inhale air with dust particles? That answer is given on page 112 in that box. So read the box and write the answer. So now we'll discuss the answers for the questions that I had given you in the last class. Hope all of you are sitting with a notebook. That is why I gave these. I thought of discussing after today's work. Okay, the first question. Where is bile produced? Bile is produced in the liver. If you have written correct answer, put a tick mark. If the answer is wrong, put a wrong mark and you can rewrite the answer at the last. Okay, after correcting all the answers, you may put the question number and write the correct answers. Second question. Name the component of food digested by bile juice and pancreatic juice. Bile juice digests fats and pancreatic juice digests remaining carbohydrates, proteins and fats and converts it into its simpler form. Carbohydrate is converted into sugar, proteins into amino acids and fats into fatty acids and glycerol. What is cud? The partially digested food in the rumen is called cud. What do you mean by rumination? The process of cud chewing is called as rumination. What is pseudopodia? List its functions. The finger-like projections in amoeba is called as pseudopodia. Pseudo means false, podia means feet. The false feet in amoeba is called as pseudopodia. What is its function? First function is to helps in movement. Pseudopodia helps in movement, to move from one place to another. Second function is to engulf food. Sixth question. Where and how is cellulose digested in ruminants? Cellulose is digested in the cecum present between the small intestine and the large intestine. Okay, where and how? It is digested with the help of bacteria present in the cecum. Next, seventh question. What is the absorbed food used for in humans? Absorbed food is used for growth and development and for releasing energy. For all cellular activity, it is given after the absorption of food. On the right half, on the first paragraph, it is given. You can look that and write. Eighth, where is water absorbed in the digestive tract? Where is it absorbed? Large intestine. Ninth, What is the role of villi in the small intestine? Villi are small finger-like projections in the small intestine. What is its function? What is the role? It increases the surface area for absorption of food. What is the role of villi in the small intestine? Villi are small finger-like projections inside the small intestine. It increases the surface area for absorption of food. It is richly supplied with blood vessels, blood capillaries. 10th question. Where and how does digestion take place in amoeba? Digestion takes place inside the food vacuole with the help of digestive enzymes. So with that, we have come to the end of this questions. Hope you have understood all the answers. So children, today's class, we have come to the end of today's class. Please read the lesson, learn all the answers. Please don't keep any pending work. Please see that you write neatly in the notebook, no scribbling work is allowed, and learn all the answers thoroughly. So bye children, we'll see you in the next class. Thank you.